Hey everyone, tonight we're stepping into a world built not by emperors or marble, but by calloused hands and quiet defiance. The Roman plebeians. Forget the myth of Rome as a city of only generals and gods. This is the Rome lived and breathed by the common people, the ones history often looks over. The plebeians. No palaces here, just crowded streets, smoky tenements, and the heavy weight of tradition pressing down on your back. You have a voice, but it's often muffled, a vote, but rarely counted. Still, you endure, you build, you resist, one whispered protest at a time. But before we begin, if you enjoy journeys into the overlooked corners of history, go ahead and like this video and subscribe if you're new. And in the comments, let me know where you are tuning in from and what time is it for you right now. Now, dim the lights and settle in. Tonight, you are not a spectator. You are a Roman plebeian. Welcome to the side of history that rarely gets a statue, but built the city anyway. You wake before the sun rises, the chill of dawn still clinging to the stone walls of your cramped apartment. The voices of neighbors filter through thin wooden shutters. Someone coughing, a baby crying, footsteps descending narrow stairs. Why do we have to get up so early every day just to be tired and hungry by night? You hear a young girl mutter nearby, her voice half lost beneath the hum of the waking city. It's a question you've asked yourself too. You are a plebeian, one of Rome's ordinary citizens. You don't wear a senator's cloak or sit in marble halls giving orders, but without your calloused hands and relentless labor, this empire would falter. You, and those like you, keep it fed, armed, clothed, and moving. And yet, your name will likely never appear in its history books. If you're a blacksmith, your day begins with fire. You stoke the forge, the glow of coals washing your face in flickering red. The air in the workshop is thick with smoke and metal. Tongs and hammers line the walls, each tool an extension of your will. You shape the needs of the city with every swing. Plowshares for farmers, nails for builders, swords for soldiers. By midday, sweat pools in the crease of your elbows, your apron speckled with burn marks. There's little rest, just a torn piece of bread dipped quickly in oil between tasks. You carry the day's burden in your arms, sore and scorched, but still strong. Or perhaps you serve in the legions. You live in the barracks with other soldiers, your bed hard and your mornings early. Centurions shout commands as you march across sun-baked ground, gladius in hand, shield on arm. You learn to swing a sword with precision, to dig a trench faster than most men blink. Your hands are as skilled with a shovel as they are with a blade. There is discipline here and brotherhood over shared meals, worn dice, and quiet glances before battle. You train for glory, yes, but you fight for pay, for land, for the promise that someday, maybe, your family will know more than this life. If you're a merchant, your world is motion and voices. You claim a spot near the forum, your stall shaded by a fading awning. You arrange figs, olive oil, cloth, or pottery, depending on your trade. You shout louder than your neighbor to draw in partitions and plebeians alike. Every sale is a gamble. A good day means your children eat well. A bad day sends you home with unsold goods and clenched teeth. But you know the rhythm of the market, and your eyes are always alert, scanning, calculating, surviving. As an artisan, a potter, a leather worker, a builder, you labor with your hands, your craft passed down through sweat and repetition. You belong to the collegium, a build of others like you, and you attend meetings and shared meals when you can. You teach your son how to mix clay, your daughter how to cut and stitch leather. In your shop, every vase, every sandal, every beam carries the mark of your care, proof that something made with patience and purpose can outlast the day it was born. When evening falls, the light fades from your shared apartment in the Insulae. The walls are thin. You hear couples arguing, babies wailing, neighbors laughing. You live several stories above the street, far from the cleaner air below. You cook what little you have, lentils, perhaps bread or cheese, a splash of wine to dull the ache. You eat sitting on the edge of your bed, knees nearly touching the wall. Sometimes you find relief in the public baths, letting warm water soothe your sore muscles. Or you gather at the local shrine to whisper a prayer, if not for favor, then at least for strength. Other nights, you go to the Circus Maximus, watching chariot wheels blur in the dust. The crowds roar, drowning your own fatigue. Your time isn't always your own, but in moments like this, you cling to your family, your community, your dignity. You trade gossip at the market, favors in the streets, and stories with your children before sleep. You are a free citizen. You are not a slave, and that matters. You can vote, though your voice feels small. You can own property, even if that means little more than a rented room and a chipped bowl. You pay taxes. You fight wars. You build the city. But you are not a partition either. You weren't born into luxury, and the elite rarely let you forget it. They speak for you in the Senate, if at all. Their homes are vast, cool, and quiet. Yours is tight, loud, and worn. Yet sometimes you march in protest. You demand better. You remember the legends of plebeians who forced change. Your history is not just survival, but rebellion. The plebeians walked out of Rome more than once, in 494 BCE, in 449, and in 287, refusing to work, to serve, or to participate until their voices were collectively heard. The 12 tables, the right to elect tribunes, the slow climb toward respect. It gives you something to believe in. Your life is full of contradiction, hardship and resilience, poverty and pride. The empire towers above you, but it stands on your back. So when the sun rises tomorrow, and the iron heats, or the markets open, or the centurion's voice cracks across the parading ground, you'll rise again, just like you did today. You are not etched in marble, but you are carved into the heart of Rome. Your life, though quiet, is what keeps this mighty city alive. Plebeians formed strong bonds through local groups or guilds called collegia. These groups brought together people from the same jobs: bakers, blacksmiths, dock workers, and many others. Offered more than friendship, guilds controlled hiring, set prices, and organized group events such as yearly religious festivals and processions. Members paid dues and in return could count on support if they became sick or needed help with funeral expenses. In some cases, a guild could even help protect a family's interest to negotiate with city officials. Archaeologists have found the meeting places of these guilds called scolae. In Ostia, scholars found painted walls and benches where members gathered to make important decisions. Some clubs even had their own altars or shrines of worship. You gather with your fellow potters beneath the arch of your guild hall, laughter and warm greetings mixing with the scent of wet clay and incense. You pay your dues without question because you know that in sickness or loss, these people will be there for you and your family. The Collegium is your second family, a place where voices like yours matter. It is here that decisions are made about pricing, about training, holidays, and even worship. Painted walls surround you, bearing the names of those who came before. You add yours with pride, knowing this is where you belong. Getting involved with city life gives you a sense of pride. You can vote in the assemblies, a right denied to slaves and foreigners. When the comitia is called, you and your neighbors gather in the forum, joining your voting tribe beneath the open sky. A magistrate reads a proposed law aloud, and you scratch your response on a wax tablet or stand with your group to be counted. Sometimes it feels like your voice barely ripples the surface, but it is your voice, and it counts. Somewhere in the archives, your name is etched onto a tablet alongside thousands of others. It's not fame, but it's something more enduring, a trace of your existence. Military service, too, shapes your life. As a young man, you join the Legion, wide-eyed and eager. You learn to march, to dig, to fight. The training is brutal, but you grow stronger. You see lands beyond Rome, fight beside men from far-off provinces, and carry the eagle's standard with reverence. If you survive, you earn land, a piece of earth to call your own. Your uniform becomes a symbol, not just of loyalty, but of opportunity. Even long after you hang up your sword, the discipline and brotherhood linger. Still, the odds are never truly fair. Owning property gives you a vote, but the structure is rigged. Wealthier citizens control more influential voting blocks. Your collegium might offer support, but the city's major decisions remain locked behind patrician gates. You can rent a home, but it might collapse in a fire, while the mansions on the Palatine remain untouched. Your freedom is real, but fragile. You are not enslaved, but you are not heard. Your rights give you something to build on, a home, a voice, a guild. Yet every step forward is weighted by the stone of tradition. You exist in between, respected but only to a point, included but never central. Your world is one of complex pride, a daily balance between agency and exclusion. Long before the markets fill with the scent of bread and herbs, you already feel the limits of your place. You share streets with patricians, but their voices are always louder. In the forum, laws are passed that affect you deeply, yet you can only watch as decisions are made far above your reach. Take Gaius, your neighbor, a merchant. He rises early, arranges jars of oil with care. But when the Senate raises trade taxes, he is blindsided. Who decided this? He mutters. His stall shakes with frustration. Assemblies are held during market hours. Attendance means losing coin. And even if he goes, his vote is one among many, diluted by a system designed to keep the powerful in power. Lucia, the potter, dreams of running for office. She knows her neighbors, their needs, their hopes, but campaigns cost more than she earns in a year. So she watches as others, rich and loud, buy attention with games and gifts. Her clay-stained hands hold no coin. Even when plebeians gain victories, like electing tribunes, the elite push back. The Senate delays. Assemblies are announced suddenly. Rituals and customs obscure the process. It's not ignorance that holds plebeians back. It's design. Still, you resist. In whispers at the bathhouse, in quiet solidarity at the market. When a tribune blocks an unfair law, you cheer softly. Resistance isn't always fire and fists. Sometimes it's showing up again and again, despite the set of circumstances you face. Carpenters rise before dawn. Merchants fill the forum with shouts and laughter. Farmers tend crops beyond the city, coaxing grain from dry soil. Legionaries bleed in distant lands. Masons build the very walls patricians decorate with their names. And you do it all while navigating a life of limits. Homes are crowded. Air is smoky. Illness moves quickly through your street. But you endure. You barter. You teach your children the value of work. Your tools, your pots, your bread. These are the true foundations of Rome. Patricians may command, but it is you who builds. You may never dine with senators, but they eat from plates you fired. You may not own marble halls, but you shape the roads that lead to them. Rome does not exist without you. Your pride is quiet but unshakable. In every calloused hand, in every mended tunic, in every whispered prayer before dawn, you prove that Rome is not just ruled from the top, it grows from you. So when the city remembers its greatness, let it remember your name as well. Because behind every triumphal arch and gilded statue stands a plebeian who made it possible. And that, in the end, is a legacy no emperor can erase. These were the Cessio Plebis, acts of defiance that shook the Republic, and each time change swiftly followed. The tribune of the plebs was born, the lex hortensia passed. Rights were earned not as gifts, but as victories. You carry the legacy forward. Every conversation in the marketplace, every protest of attacks, every story whispered to your children. These are seeds of strength. You teach them that history does not forget the ones who persist. In your modest home, you display a warm token of your grandfather's service in the legions. You tell stories of the 12 tables and how once the laws were kept secret from the people. The Roman plebeians demanded they be written down because knowledge is power, and power should be shared. You know your worth. When the city celebrates its victories, you recall who marched, who toiled, who fed the masses while the generals rode in golden chariots. When statues crumble and names fade, it is your kind, the unnamed, the many, who endure in memory, in brick and in bone. And when you walk beneath the arches, past senators in their spotless togas, you walk tall, not because you're allowed to, but because you must. Because Rome is not only marble and command, it is dust and discipline. It is sacrifice without applause. Rome is you, and you are Rome. As the city's dust settles around you and the day's noise fades, remember this: Rome was never just a grandeur of senators or the glory of emperors. It was and always will be the sweat and spirit of the plebeians, those whose names may never be carved in stone, but whose legacy is the very foundation beneath every step you take. Your story is one of endurance, of quiet rebellion, of building something greater than the sum of its hardships. When history tells its tale, make sure it remembers not just the rulers, but the ruled, because without you, there is no Rome.